Welcome back. Today we're going to be delving into my inbox again and respond to a video that was sent to me by someone whose account is no longer active, so I cannot thank them for sending me a video that was at the time they sent me 1 year old, but it is now 2 years old. Thank you for that. And yes, that does in fact mean this video is quite old. I really should learn to check my messages more often. Sorry everyone. Take it away, Jack Howard.
Yeah, no, I'm not a feminist. I just believe in equal rights, is something I said about a year ago.
Which at this point would be 3 years. At this present time, we use current year as an argument to say why we are or are not something that is or is not progressive. So for you, you can say I'm not a feminist because I believe in equality because current year. Or you could take up the label egalitarian. I personally don't take up labels, I just treat people equally because it's not difficult. For example, I'm going to totally treat the next person I speak to the same way I treat every other sandwich wench. Ren, give me my fucking sandwich now, you boob sandwich tart.
Here's your sandwich, Megan.
I think I've been given a sandwich. I cannot That's reading Ren. Check her out. Check her out, yes. Anyway, Jack, you were talking about equality. Please continue.
Little did I know, that is feminist.
Even if you went by the dictionary definition, you would be wrong.
A couple of years ago, I used to make a podcast called the Man Time Podcast, ironically named
The Man Time Podcast. I actually quite like the name, and am going to be starting a podcast with Mim Headroom. Go sub him. We haven't decided on a name though, and if you're not using that, we may well change it from Biscuit Banter to that. Perhaps tell me why it's ironic.
This isn't the best way to start a conversation about feminism. I used to make a podcast exclusively for men, but we did used to make jokes about feminism and stuff like that.
The only reason this is a bad idea to do a video about feminism and then talk about something targeted towards men is because that targeted towards men item, object, podcast is not inclusive to women, which triggers feminists greatly. I see no reason why doing a podcast targeted towards men is a bad thing though, because whether it's targeted towards men or women, it is up to you, the creator, to decide who your audience is. Unless you've been told you triggered some feminists, I don't see the problem. And even then, you shouldn't see it as a problem.
And I used to have the opinion, bloody feminists, and things like that.
An opinion that would still hold now in current year.
And it doesn't feel like it's me anymore. And if you were offended by the way I used to be, I apologise.
Before making this video, were you handed a drink called Kool-Aid? Did it have a skull and some crosses on? Because I have a strange feeling you took a big fat swig of it. You don't have to apologise for what you used to be because you are no longer that person. And to better help my audience understand the kind of content you put out while involved in the Man Time podcast, I have left a link below to a 3-minute clip of all of you together talking. There is a whole playlist, but I figure this one 3-minute clip should suffice.
Now, I do identify as a feminist, and what feminism means to me is that men and women should be equal and be able to have the same opportunities and do the same things as the other one. It shouldn't depend on gender, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Which, for the most part, they do. I might go a little further and say that there are discrepancies that lean towards discriminating white people in this country, the United Kingdom, certainly through things like the BBC's Creative Access, and in that instance, it makes me not only ashamed to be a TV licence holder, but to be somebody that has in the past watched their crap, or has applied for a job with them before.
Which to me seems bloody obvious.
And attained.
Like, why has someone made a rule that isn't the case?
Yeah, if only there was a system in place to ensure everyone was treated equally. That discrimination was not a thing. If only it were true.
I think that, you know how your granddad is like a bit racist, and it's like, oh granddad, you can't say that anymore.
You're assuming a lot of other white people's heritage here. Not everyone has a racist grandparent or had a racist grandparent. Some grandparents may have been too busy working the fields to feed the families for those who would then become the old people that you would say were racist.
That is going to be our generation, but with sexism and hopefully homophobia as well.
That is quite the assertion, considering how tolerant our nation is already and how hard we are working to become a more progressive nation without the push of social justice. I'd have to say you're talking out of your arse. I myself have no issues with those who identify as gay. Quite frankly, couldn't give a fuck who you want to fuck. And I definitely do not care what your gender is, or the gender you identify with. I only have issue with those that say they are trans non-binary, and then reel off a list of Tumblr kin gender bullshits.
So when we get old, we'll be the last generation that says sexist and homophobic things, and our grandchildren will be like, why was this ever allowed?
I can imagine by that point the very concept of freedom of speech will have been abolished.
It won't seem normal, which to me, and I'm sure a majority of people, it doesn't seem normal to think and feel these things.
I would argue that, to an extent, it is totally normal to notice a difference within people. But of course you're going with the more sociological elements of what is and is not acceptable by our standards today in this country, or in countries like this that could be regarded as progressive as this. In which case I would say, even now, the majority of people don't think the way you think, they think. Get off your high horse.
Why I need feminism? Look at this, look, okay?
Oh, you just know when someone says I need feminism and turns around to get a visual aid, this is going to be good.
Before I talk about this, here's a disclaimer. I didn't buy this. This was a gift.
Oh shit. What kind of misogyny were you given?
And it's a bit of a rubbish gift anyway, so whoever got it for me, I mean, I use it a lot, but like...
If you use it a lot, surely that's a good gift. Something practical, something you, oh look, use a lot. How is it a rubbish gift? I now need to know what this misogyny is. Show me. Show me the oppression.
Look at this. It's a car.
So this is your misogyny? This is why you need feminism? Holy shit. You really need something.
Red, lovely, sports car. Inside it, grooming products.
Oh, that's useful. I have one of those, not the car version, mine's an airplane version, but very, very useful. Last thing we want to do is have very bad nails or have our nail kit on display or admit we have one to begin with. Now I need to know two things. One, how that is a terrible gift, and two, why you need feminism because of it.
Got your nail scissors, nail clippers, tweezers, and a nail file.
You got tweezers?
Yeah, I've got tweezers, yeah.
Can I borrow them?
Yeah, do you want some tweezers?
Yeah. Thanks.
It's a bit gay though, isn't it? But it's disguised in this car.
Oh no, I'm absolutely feeling very, very positive and reinforced in my masculinity about using these beauty products.
Thank you.
Bye.
There's nothing gay about looking after yourself, so one has to assume that prior to filming that little skit, you thought it was funny, or you thought it would reinforce an earlier point. It doesn't. It just makes you both look like a pair of twats.
I thought about this the other day. I've had this for ages, and I thought, why is it in this car?
Because cars appeal to guys more than girls.
Like, think about that. Obviously, I'm focusing on what I experienced personally, but that's not on, is it?
If the shape of the gift offends you, why not do what others do, quite a lot of people do, with gifts they don't want? Give them to charity, get a refund, or exchange it for something else, something less, to quote you, gay.
On Tumblr, I've spoken about this sort of thing before, about how I see myself as a feminist.
Hard to believe 3 years later, Tumblr is still a stronghold for feminism. And it is also indicative of the problem you have. You are talking about your feminism in a place that is a huge echo chamber for feminism and social justice.
But I got told that I can't be a feminist.
If somebody had told me that I couldn't do something, it wouldn't drive me to do more to be it. Instead, I would have gone and done something more fun, like, I don't know, oppressed a peach or two.
Because it's a movement for women, by women.
And this is where you know the people telling you this don't spend a whole lot of time in education and spend more time getting money from daddy. If they'd picked up a book or two, or bothered to go online and trace the history of feminism right back to the start, they'd find it deep-rooted within suffrage movements.
And I think that's quite a backwards way of thinking.
In this instance, I think it's more like a get-out-of-jail-free card. You should have taken it.
I'm happy to be told I'm wrong. I'm always happy to be told that my viewpoint is misconstrued. I'm always happy to put my hands up and say sorry. They called me a feminist ally, which I think is just... You're just segregating people. Why are you doing that?
A totally valid question. Why segregate? And I can answer it. Because it allows for more victims to be created. To order victims by colour, sexuality, by gender, by pronoun, by identity. All these things afford people the opportunity, Tumblrites, princesses, delicates, teacups and snowflakes the opportunity to conjure up the greatest victim they can possibly create and be protected by feminism or white feminism or intersectional feminism. You can choose which one, but you'll only ever be an ally.
Emma Watson recently made a speech, Hermione off of Harry Potter. She made a speech about feminism, and I agreed with pretty much all of it, except she said that the word shouldn't be important, it's what it stands for and what you do.
By that logic, it would imply that those acting in the name of feminism in a negative way are doing it not for equality but supremacy. Now, I am intrigued why you don't agree, because obviously you don't, with what Emma said about actions speaking louder than words, which is basically what she said.
I agree, but I also don't. Because people, men and women, shouldn't be scared of identifying themselves with female, the femme bit at the beginning.
I can say with my tentacle on my heart, the word femme has no part in my disdain towards feminism. That does not mean I identify as an anti-feminist, though, just to be clear. I am not a fan of feminism at all, because equality has been attained, and you know this. In this country, there is no discrimination towards women or ethnic minorities. In fact, the current discrimination comes in the form of affirmative action and racial quotas that go towards people of colour that are UK nationals.
It means that you aren't afraid of using female connotations towards yourself, especially for men, because I know that some people, they want to, lads, that's why they want to be seen.
Again, I'm going to say, it has nothing to do with the fact the name has a direct link to women. No, it has everything to do with the actions. It has everything to do with the fact that feminism is utterly redundant in the United Kingdom. Meninism, though, now that's something completely different, and you should support it.
But if you can identify yourself as feminine, I think it shows that things are progressing more because we aren't scared of separating each other.
Using that very logic to say there's nothing wrong with showing more feminine traits, is there something inherently wrong with showing masculine traits? And this applies to women showing masculine traits as much as it does men showing off their more natural selves. The selves you are clearly very ashamed of.
I think it's also easy to get confused between being a feminist and a straight white male?
Not really. You see, one is being persecuted by the other for being what it is, i.e. straight white men are on a regular basis attacked, bullied, and quite frankly oppressed by feminists.
Which I am. I know that women aren't just objects, so I think I found a nice middle ground where I know that women aren't just objects, but I am attracted to them. But I'm also attracted to their brains. But I do like boobs.
That middle ground must be amazing. I notice you never told us why you needed feminism for your nail kit. Are you going to tell us or what?
What are you going to do?
Apparently, I'm going to end this video. You never really told us why you needed feminism. You didn't really provide a succinct reason why you were a feminist. For those wondering why I'm covering this video, Mr. Howard has done another video that I'm going to be tackling with Otterface in the very near future, and I wanted to warm myself up for the other video. But also, this video still holds true to a lot of the newer feminist videos that crop up now. Maybe not as frequently, but they still do. It's always nice to have a little bit of fun just before delving back into more serious topics. Thank you all for listening.